Golfers are always asking me how they can stop rushing their downswing. Now sometimes it's more a feel than actual fact, but quite often it's caused by the kind of way we load in the backswing that doesn't allow you to have the opportunity to swing down at the correct tempo and pace. So most golfers that we would test on any kind of launch monitor are going to be swinging it slower and even have a slower tempo than the best players in the world. The best players in the world will look like they're moving slower because they recruit their muscles and work in a direction that looks so effortless and smooth that the speed doesn't look like it's there, but it is, obviously, for sure. So let's go through some things that can help you have more time, space in that transition area in particular, and how we can load up that backswing to give you that space and time to swing down correctly. So what we tend to see with a lot of golfers, recreational golfers, this is when they swing back, they tend to have basically an underturned body position and a collapsed arm position, and quite often a cuppy wrist condition. These kind of three things are very common. Now, if I'm in this position and I want to get to that golf ball, I haven't got much room. So if you look at the kind of width from my handle here to the golf ball and my shoulder to the golf ball, my shoulder's actually even closer to target than the golf ball. So from there, if I try and get to the golf ball, it's going to feel quite sharp, steep, rushed, narrow. So some golfers then will start this way, and then what they'll do is they'll back up and flick. So they'll see that kind of pattern. So it's kind of that kind of movement. So it all feels rushed, even though there's no speed being generated, and there's very little chance of getting that club on ball consistently. And that magic word consistently is what all golfers tend to search for. You know, quite often people come into my lesson bay and say to me, I'm looking for consistency. I have to dial that down into what? Is it direction or contact or power? You know, what kind of things do they really want to be consistent with? And then we look at why that's not happening and give them the tools to fix it, obviously. But what we tend to see, as I've already showed you there, is that it's kind of narrow underturned backswing, and that really makes it very hard not to rush your downswing. So giving yourself that space and time is majorly important to allow the club to work further away from the golf ball, which creates more natural speed and torque, which then allows you to effortlessly hit the golf ball sweeter and further. So what we want to see is to make sure that you have bigger turn and bigger width. That's going to give you a longer space between the butt of the club and the ball, as you can see. And if the shoulder's behind the golf ball, it means you can move a little bit forward without compromising the fact that you're going to be ahead of the golf ball. We want, ideally, the downswing sequence, we want the lower half to move and the upper half to follow quite quickly behind that, but definitely behind that. And that's the correct sequence. And what will happen then is obviously the arms go down and forward as well on top of the golf ball. What we see with a lot of golfers when they're underturned is the body goes forward too early, then it has to stall so much. And the club then, when it goes forward with the upper body, tends to get very much over the top on a very above plane position. Sometimes this will also happen because the right side's too dominant, and we are mostly right-handed golfers. And a lot of us who play golf, especially if we don't take it up at a very young age, are quite eager to hit that little white thing on the floor. We're quite eager to get to that floor, that ball, as quick as we can to create power, and we use our right arm and right shoulder quite aggressively. We definitely don't want to feel that's happening in this transition area. So what we want to feel is, obviously we've got this bigger turn. Ideally then, if you took your right hand off the club, allow that club just to feel like it doesn't move towards the ball immediately. It is moving towards the ball, but just feel like the left arm's doing it as opposed to the right arm and right hand. Right arm, right hand, left arm. See, there's a different direction. And the more we can get this club head to feel like it's further away from the golf ball, the further it has to travel. Therefore, the wider the arc and the longer the arc, therefore the more natural speed. The more the center of the mass and the shaft goes behind the hands, the more it naturally rotates and torques back to the ball, creating again more speed. So again, we'll possibly look slower, but actually gain more speed. And certainly gain more time, which is crucial for this particular video. So what we want to focus on, that big turn, wide turn, feel like the right hand has no influence on the shaft or the grip. The left hand can definitely feel like the handle goes forward, but it feels like it goes down and forward at the same kind of time. Okay, it's a very sort of diagonal kind of movement, as opposed to an over the movement or trap behind movement. You definitely want to feel it's there. And what will happen at the same time, I want you to feel closed. The body's definitely squaring up, but a lot of people square up too quickly. you want your body pretty square at this left arm parallel to the ground. So we want to definitely feel that there's a stage from that top of the backswing to that transition and into that left arm parallel, where we feel it's more about the lateral move than it is about the rotational move. Then the rotational move happens after we get that lateral move. So from here through the golf ball, then I want you to really rotate as hard and fast and as much as you can. That helps us control this club face. So the people who might say, well, we want to rotate early from top. If you're in the right position on the way back, you can certainly get away with that. But for most of us, for most golfers, the more we feel that we move laterally and it's more a centering, so it's a slight bit of rotation, that's going to help you get the club more into the slot than the people who try and really rotate hard from the top. If you rotate hard from the top just with your lower half, that's not so bad, and as you rotate and recenter, you'll get some lateral movement. If you're keeping your upper half in the closed position when you do that, you're certainly creating a lot of stress on your lower spine, which we don't want. You've got 10 degrees of movement you can have there, no more. Otherwise that starts to get niggly for your back. So laterally, obviously we can move and then we can rotate a lot, but we try and rotate then the rib cage and the hips in tandem if we can. I know the hips are always going to be outrunning the rib cage, ideally by that kind of 10 degrees or so. So that will help us create that little bit of power. So let's just try and hit a ball, and what I'm going to try and do is just try and be very patient. So when I get to the top of the swing, make a big turn, wide turn, feel that the left arm almost pulls down and forward, and we stay closed. Definitely felt that my right arm was doing less work. And again, I am very right side dominant, with my feet, with my arms, with everything. So that definitely felt a little bit different to me. But that'd be the way I'd want you to practice. And then on the golf course, we do a nice practice swing, maybe even letting the right hand just come loose as we come down from the top and feel, okay, stay closed, let the left arm go forward and down. And even do that, fire left arm through the ball.